Hey guys, it's Larissa, and today I'm going to show you how to turn some old, unworn clothing into some really cool upcycled artwork. It's easy to fine-tune this to any style of decor or any room in the house, and if you use some sentimental pieces, you can really get a really interesting memento out of it. For instance, I've been given some of my grandpa's old shirts. If you knew my grandpa, then you would know that he practically lived in these old western shirts with the pearl snap buttons. So I had a whole stack of these, and I wasn't sure what to do with them, and then I came up with a really cool idea. I also had a stack of canvases sitting around that I got a really good deal on, but since I didn't have a specific purpose in mind for them, they've kind of been hanging out. But now, this is going to be perfect. So first you need to decide what part of the garment you want to use. If you're using a graphic tee, that's really simple. You're going to use the emblem on the front. But in a case like this, I've got some options. I know I want to work in some of the pearl snaps, hopefully a pocket. Beyond that, we're going to see. I'm also thinking about using a big piece from the back, maybe turning it on the bias to give it some cool visual detail. Alright, so some supplies you'll be needing for this project. A large trash bag, canvases, preferably wrapped canvases, not with the staples on the side, but that'll be up to you. Whatever old shirt or clothing you plan on using, spray adhesive, and then maybe some clear drying craft glue or Mod Podge, potentially a hot glue gun, whatever you want to use to finish up and clean up your edges at the end. A nice pair of scissors that will cut through fabric easily, preferably fabric shears, but whatever you have should work. And that's it! I want to line up the top of my pocket so that I have a little bit of room on the canvas above it. I don't want the pocket to be at the very top. And I'll scooch it over. And yeah, I think I should be able to make this work and fold and manipulate the fabric of this sleeve to get it to lay kind of flat against the corner here. And this way I'll get the pocket and some of these snaps in too. Now, that puts the center front down the edge of the panel, which means I'm going to have this odd, plain white stripe, which I'm not too keen on. But if I just cover that with a solid piece of the fabric, I think that'll work pretty well. So my first step is going to be a rough cut of my material. I know I'm going to need a piece to cover up the one side here. Well, that's pretty much the width of the fabric. So I'm just going to make sure that I cut a strip that'll be wide enough to do that across the bottom. Conveniently, I'm using a striped fabric, so that gives me some good guidelines to get nice straight cuts. Now I'm just doing rough cuts here. I'm not trying to get everything perfect because I'm not sure how well the fabric's going to stretch over the canvas, so I'm making sure to leave myself extra room and extra material whenever I can. Now, this is going to be the important cut. I want to make sure I leave my extra room above my pocket or whatever detail you're trying to use. But I want to make sure also that I keep everything pretty well straight and lined up. So I'm going to go ahead and line up the top of my canvas where I want it, and then the side with this straight edge of the garment. And I'm going to have the garment pulled out pretty well as flat as I can get it. So on these three edges, I'm going to be cutting around, leaving plenty of fabric so that I have enough to go over the entire front of the canvas and the sides, and then still wrap some to the back. Making sure I'm still lined up over on this side, I'm now going to just cut off the last side. This next step can get a little bit messy. Normally I'd go outside for this, but since it's rainy and gross out today, instead I'm going to lay out a trash bag. I'm going to start with this one edge that I wanted to keep covered, but isn't going to be covered by the rest of the shirt. I'm going to spray in that general area with this spray adhesive. And I'm going to lay my fabric down along that edge, pressing it down pretty well into the fabric. A light coat along that edge, fold the fabric over and press down neatly. Now I flip it down so that I can see the back. I'm going to press down the back here because there's a little bit of overspray from where I did the side, so it should stick well enough, especially because it's going to get another layer wrapped over it at the top and the bottom. Now this next bit's going to be kind of like wrapping a present. I'm going to give a quick spray so that it'll give me something for the fabric to hold on to, and then fold your layers over. If you have a little extra like that, no problem. Just snip it off and you're good to go. Again, this doesn't have to be perfect at this point because this is all going to get covered up. I'm really only going for this edge because I didn't want it to stay white. Now to get the bulk of the canvas covered, I'm going to go back with the spray adhesive and cover the whole front with a light coat. Now the good news about the spray adhesive is it's got a little bit of give to it. You kind of have to work quickly before it dries, but you've got a little bit of room at the beginning here where you're going to be able to sort of pick things up and reposition them to smooth out all those uneven wrinkles. So now most of these extra flaps you're going to do just like you did this first side. Spray and fold, and then a little tacky glue to really give it some hold later. I want to make sure that in the corners here I back things up with a little bit of this tacky glue so that I'm not relying solely on that spray adhesive because that's such a thin layer. And there we have it. One of Grandpa's shirts turned into a nice sentimental piece of wall art that I can hang up and have with me always to remember him by. It's also got the added benefit of having this little pocket so you could tuck something in there if you wanted, anything else as a little memento, or just something visually pleasing, or you can just leave it as is. Don't be afraid to play with the placement. Maybe try putting the fabric on the bias, or moving the canvas around and try to use the more interesting parts of the garment. As long as you don't choose a canvas bigger than your fabric, you can go pretty reasonably sized. I used almost the entire back of one shirt and this pretty reasonably sized canvas for a much bigger piece that I'm going to give to my mom. Thanks for watching. I hope you're inspired to make some really cool artwork of your own, whether it's sentimental like mine or just a really cool t-shirt you can't bear to give up. Have a beautiful day and I'll see you next time.